Some more lessons from the greatest generation. There was no red states or blue states. There was only a United States. A young man from a future red state, Kansas, meets a woman from Massachusetts, a future blue state, falls in love with her, and they have a relationship that lasts over 60 years until death do us part. His best friend, Dawn, is from New York, a future blue state, and they keep in touch for years after they get out of the service. There is no time for prejudice. Lou and Dawn take pictures with the natives that have different skin color. All the sailors barter in compromise with the local natives for goods. Love thy neighbor. This photo shows our map making and copy room. This aerial view shows the early landing strip on Pitilou Island.
This was one of our regular cooks out we had quite frequently. We would always go down to the galley, and one of the cooks down there was always ready to give us plenty of top-grade steaks, all kinds of gallon cans of ice cream, etc., and we'd come back and have our own little cookout. That fellow sitting in the front row down there, the little guy, reached toward the fireplace, was my buddy Don Phelan from New York, and sitting right behind him, you can see me sitting there.
This aerial shows the construction on the tip of Manus in the Admiralties.
This was our outdoor theater, where we had always nightly movies, and they were always the latest up-to-date films. The next picture coming up shows part of the plane that the Bob Hope Show traveled on when they came out through the island, putting on one of the regular Bob Hope shows. And the third picture following would be pictures of Jerry Colon, Patty Thomas, and Francis Langford, who was traveling with the Bob Hope Show at the time.
The plane the Bob Hope Show traveled on. Part of the Bob Hope Show: Patty Thomas, Jerry Colon, and Francis Langford. Living quarters for our group. I recall that wild pigs would get under the hut at night and rub their backs on the floor beams. Photo shows the inside area of living quarters.
This picture shows my cot and desk, where I did all of my letter writing, and you will also see sitting on the top left of my desk, you can recognize the picture of Millie sitting.
Photo shows me on the firing line, firing at a target being towed by a plane. Photo shows me examining one of the two towed targets. One of our group reassembling the .50 caliber machine gun.
Here, at this shot, we are getting instructions on how to lead your target when firing at an approaching plane.
Group taking airplane identification class.
This is my buddy Don Phelan on the extreme left and myself on the far right, posing with a couple of the local natives from the islands there. This was probably one of the many foolish things that I did while over in the Pacific. I borrowed a pair of electrician climbing hooks from the electrician department, and I climbed this coconut tree just so I could say that I did actually climb a coconut tree and pick coconuts. Letters from Millie. She did actually faithfully write a letter to me every day, and I saved most every one of them, I believe. returned home, I did bring them with me. You know, I'm not sure, but I believe she may actually have some of them kicking around the house even today.
We did have some fairly severe tropical storms.
One of our carriers dropped anchor in the harbor one day, and an old buddy of ours from stateside was on board the photo lab of this ship. So we spent the evening out there with him, rehashing old stories and visiting with an old friend.
Nightly poker game with pals.
My buddy Don Phelan and I. Don was a real promoter. If the outfit needed something and some other group had it, and it wasn't nailed down, locked up, or lashed down, Don would find some way to get his hands on it. Don was the only one in our group that I really become friends with. And we got along real well. Even to this day, we're still in contact occasionally with each other.
Washing clothes in the extreme heat was practically a daily chore. I am in the middle. Outdoor barber. We had our own barber, and the hair cutting was always done outdoors.
Usually late in the afternoon, a couple of us would go by the chow hall with a couple of pails, and the cooks would fill them up with ice for us, which we'd take back up to the huts and stick our bottles of beer in there and cool them down for the evening. This was the ammunition ship, the Mount Hood, that happened to be anchored in the harbor one day, and it was still pretty well loaded with ammunition, I guess, when it exploded. There was a number of stories as to what caused it to explode, all the way from like a two-man sub that had gotten into the harbor, or the Japanese had one of our captured planes and flew over and dropped a bomb on the deck, and a number of different stories. I never did actually really find out what caused the explosion. But there was only something like 2 or 3, maybe 4 survivors from the whole ship, and they happened to have just gone ashore to pick up their mail or supplies or such, and they were not on board when the explosion happened. The next photo you'll see shows the smoke from the ship just immediately after it exploded.
This picture shows smoke just after the explosion on the Mount Hood. Photo of Lou, probably taken just before a flight.
This outrigger, we traded it from the local natives there. I guess it probably cost us 25 or 30 mattress covers, or bed sheets as some people call them, to get this outrigger from them. And we used to use it to sail partially around the island there. Everybody had quite a ball with it.
Same canoe as before, just under sail now. Photo of a native canoe they made. Early on a Sunday morning, the natives would show up to trade. Preferably for bed sheets, they had various shells and carvings.